Welcome back, and you're still watching Daybreak on this 7th day of September 2020, an important week in as far as defining the fate of the counties, as we'll be expecting Parliament to have a say on what should happen to counties that are expecting their share of revenue. But first, let's take a look at the state of the COVID-19 situation in the country by beginning to look at the numbers and the trends. We'll be looking at the statistics over the past 1 week. You're looking at yesterday. As of yesterday, the total tests were 474,000, and out of those, 35,103 infections had been detected. And out of that case load, we know that 21,230, that's actually 60% have recovered. Those that have died from complications related to the disease are 597. We're inching closer to 600 mark. Then the active cases remain at 13,276, which is 38%. Something else to look at that you will see the week in review. The cases a week ago were 34,057. Now, as of yesterday, like I said, 35,103. So that's an increment of 1,046. And this is a new low. We'll be looking at how the weeks have been behaving in terms of the numbers reported. The new deaths since Sunday last week until yesterday were 23, and the daily average would be 4. So the new recoveries recorded during that week, 1,542, is still not the highest, but considerably higher compared to the previous week. Then we're talking about the week in review again. That 1 week, we've tested 24,331. This is a very low sample size compared to the previous weeks, which has been going down. You recall that the previous week we were at 28,000. The week before we were at 30,000. The week before was 37,000. The previous one, 37,000. And the week before, 39,000. So there you can see the consistent decline. The positivity rate is also declining. It's now at 4.2%. That's a weekly positivity rate. We'll be looking later on at the positivity rate on a daily basis. Let's talk about Kenya's months analysis. You'll see, well, that number, that bar for August is actually wrong because it shows that August we had 13,421. That's lower than 14,270, so we'll have that corrected. In the month of September, we have already recorded 902 infections in the 6 days of the month. That's a daily average of 150. So that is almost the same average with June. So you can see why people are saying that we are almost flattening the curve because of the numbers being reported on a daily basis. Let's look at something else that will give you, I believe, the graph comparing the different, well, this is the positivity rate over the past 14 or so days, since 25th of August until yesterday. Look at that. We started on 25th at 5.9, then 5.3, then went to 7.9. Of course, this is comparing to the sample size that has been tested. So you can see how it has been flip-flopping, but since the 3rd of September, it has been on a steady decline. So currently 2.6% is the positivity rate. This is to mean that out of all the samples tested, only 2.6% of those returned positive. And the argument here is that if we're able to keep this below 5%, for 14 days, then it will be classified as having flattened the curve. But there are so many questions about that, because we know that the Cabinet Secretary already admitted that there's a shortage of reagents and therefore reducing the capacity to test. When you come to gender burden of the disease, you see the men are still leading at 22,613, that is 64%, and then the women are at 35.6%. With 12,490. So the coronavirus pandemic burden when it comes to gender. Let's look at the cases by region. You'll see that Nairobi continues to lead with 19,793, but not so much of a change over the past 7 days. Actually, just a few hundreds, because even last week we were at more than 19,000. Then that is followed by Rift Valley, I believe, with 4,531, followed by Central Kenya, 3,166. Then Eastern region, no, actually Coast follows with 2,991, most of them in Mombasa. Then Eastern, 1,876. Then you'll see that Western follows with 1,287, Nyanza, 1,084 cases. And then the Northeastern region is last with 375 infections reported so far. Let's see how the county burden spreads. Again, Nairobi, 19,793, followed by Kiambu with 2,576. Then Mombasa, 2,000. 457. That is followed by who? Let's see. This should be, is it Machakos? Machakos, no, it should be Kajiado. Where's Kajiado? Kajiado 1,896. And then after that, you have Machakos following 1,268. Then Busia 1,150. And you see the situation in Nakuru, 805, then Uasin Gishu, 505, and Migori, 435. Those are like the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 counties in the country when it comes to the coronavirus caseload. So those are the numbers that we know in as far as the situation is concerned. Let's see the weekly tracking. This is the curve that I was telling you about. If you had to look at it from the 12th week until now, so there was a bend at the 21st week, and that band has been sliding down currently at 1,046. So did we hit our peak on the 21st or is it 22nd week? And now we are on a decline. Will this continue in the coming days despite the fact that the reagents are deficient? So that's a question that we'll be probing in course of this week to see what to do in as far as the situation with the coronavirus is concerned. So I want to take you to a story here that is to do with the Board of Management Teachers. This is the impact of coronavirus disease in the country. And we know that over 48,000 Board of Management teachers are on the verge of desperation. Despite numerous calls and even a promise by the Cabinet Secretary for Education, the teachers continue to bear the brunt of the harsh economic times, having gone 5 months without pay, as Makori Ongechi now reports.
On the outskirts of Pipeline Estate in Embakasi East constituency, Steve Oyo, a Board of Management teacher at El Shama Primary School, located a few kilometers away from here, leads us to his house.
Not received anything.
Oyo pays 7,000 shillings as rent in this single room, where he stays with his wife, who also is employed as a BOM teacher. For this young family, it was a double tragedy. Both their pockets for 5 months continued to run dry after their salaries were cut off.
You try yourself, you try to recollect yourself. Things are not working. You have people who depend on you from home. They need something to eat. They really depend on me. I also have a family I need to feed. I also have some bills like paying the rent.
But the story of Oyo and his wife is that of 48,000 other BOM teachers in various public schools across the country. Since schools were closed in March, the tutors have been struggling to a point of doing odd jobs to make ends meet. And for this science and mathematics teacher, he is at the lowest point of his life so far.
It's very, very tough. You see the little that you are getting so that you move on with life. It was abruptly cut. Now, you don't even get a single cent. It makes you think of otherwise.
Last week, while touring Nyeri to assess how ready colleges were to reopen, Education CS Professor George Magoha was almost sure that money has reached the BOM teachers.
So any bona fide BOM teacher that is engaged by a school through normal channels, and we have got data, should have been paid by now.
But to the tutors, all that is talk. And teachers' unions are concerned that these teachers, who form a huge chunk of those helping learners in public schools, have been mishandled. There are public schools that have a higher number of BOM teachers than TSC-employed teachers.
The government is aware that a part of teachers in our public schools are BOM, which are a critical lot in our public institutions. But it is also the capitation which the minister committed that this money has been sent. No money has been sent to schools. That is the most unfortunate bit of the situation in our schools today.
The Board of Management as entities are agents of the Teacher Service Commission. And therefore, any money that was meant to pay the Board of Management teachers should be wired through the Teacher Service Commission. That has the constitutional mandate, and it has the right infrastructure. Those teachers are duly registered and assigned teaching licenses, by the Teacher Service Commission.
And as teachers employed by the government continue to receive their full salaries for the 6th month, those like Oyo can only stare at the unknown future, taking each day at a time with hopes that they will also be considered in the TSC recruitment that has just been advertised. Makori Ongechi, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
All right, that's the situation when it comes to the teachers. Of course, so many more have been affected. And later on, we have a conversation with the Chief Administrative Secretary of the Public Service Ministry, that is Rachel Shebesh. We'll be talking about the impact of all this in as far as the coronavirus pandemic is concerned. But for now, let's take a look at some of the stories that we'll be focusing on this week and some of them today. First of all, we know that Governor of Tharaka Nithi County, Muthomi Njuki, is expected to appear before EACC offices and later arraigned to respond to charges of the alleged misappropriation of 34.9 million shillings that was used to understandably procure a solid waste incinerator. So he'll be processed by EACC and later presented to court. We're also expecting this week, and I believe it's tomorrow, that the senators are back at the conversation around the revenue sharing formula. Of course, there's been that standoff for several weeks now. 9 sittings of the Senate haven't resolved. We know that a 12-member committee was constituted, but understandably, they've not been able to arrive at consensus just about agreements on different issues related to the matter. Also this week, we'll be expecting the reality check on the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. We know that the positivity rate has been declining, like I showed you a few minutes ago, but we'll be expecting to hear from the Cabinet Secretary and the officers at the Ministry of Health to tell us where we stand at based on the fact that the reagents are said to be on the decline. Those are the stories that we'll be focusing on, some of them today, but also this week that will be defining it when it comes to matters national interest. But for now, we want to focus on the conversation around the county's shock, or rather what they are saying that they are going to shut down in about 10 days now. That should be on the 17th of September. We'll be speaking to Governor of Nyeri, Mutahi Kahiga, who is already on the line. We'll also be speaking to Senator Samson Cherargei from Nandi County, also preparing to be on the line. We'll also be joined by Senator Ledama Olekina of Narok County. Unfortunately, Senator Irungu Kangata could not join us this morning. He sent his apologies. But first, let's listen to Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, who is the chairperson of the Council of Governors, when he said that enough is enough and there's that possibility that they may have to shut down government because of lack of funds.
If the prevailing situation persists, effective 17 September 2020, counties will have no choice but to shut down. Therefore, all county government services will not be available in the counties. Consequently, we shall release all county employees to proceed on leave until an amicable solution on the issue is reached.
Let me bring in the Governor of Nyeri County, Mutahi Kahiga. Good morning, Governor. I hope you're well this morning. Thank you for joining us and making time for us on Daybreak. And I want to begin with a question. So the governor there, your chairperson, said that there's that possibility of shutting down counties. How bad is the situation in Nyeri, and how are you surviving, bearing in mind that you're already in the 3rd month of the 1st quarter and all funds for this financial year have been released to you?
Thank you very much. I must admit that it is very, very tough. Remember, the financial year ended on 30th of June, and by the close of 30th of June, we still had not even received the allocation for 30th of for the month of June. And what this one meant is that we did close the year with quite a staggering amount of unpaid bills. We had not even paid salaries. And all our supplies and stocks were running out. This is the situation that we are in, despite the release of the June allocation, which was definitely used to clear the salaries of June and a few of the pending bills. It is unfortunate that so far counties are running on autopilot. We are relying on the goodwill of suppliers because we have currently no funds. Salaries have not been paid for August and July and August, and there we are. We are really in dire straits.
So I'm just wondering, because of course, apart from paying the salaries, there are so many other statutory contributions that you have to make, talking about NHIF, NSSF and others. How are your officers surviving, and how do you have now to contain their situation that going for 2 months without a salary, if that be the case?
I mean, it's important that we say that majority of our employees drive to work, take matatus to work, and therefore it is also very, very difficult for them to make it to work. Yes, we have not able to pay the NHIF and even other statutory deductions. Some of them are facing now escalating interest increases in banks because definitely they have missed their installments. And it is important that we really understand that this is a group of Kenyans who are really suffering for a mistake, not of their own making, but because a team of people somewhere out there have decided to play games with their lives. I think that's all we can say now.
I wish you could specify who is playing games with the Kenyans' lives, but so the chairperson says that...
Really, it is important for us to agree why the Senate has abrogated its role of defending counties and ensuring that counties are running by simply taking hard stances, especially on this matter of the formula.
Okay.
We more agree that when the drafters of the Constitution found it necessary to incorporate the CRA, there was a real good purpose why they really did that. And therefore, it behoved Senate, despite all the other factors, to work around before they can even get the rule, the formula that both sides really want to or envisage. I would believe that it is important that something is done to ensure that counties are running. I do remember that as COG, or Council of Governors, led by our very able chair, His Excellency Oparanya, we went to the Supreme Court for an interpretation, which has been ignored largely because the interpretation of the Supreme Court was that in the event of such an impasse, counties should be able to access about 50% of last year's budget.
Okay.
This has not happened. We have still had the Attorney General shifting position, assuming that that was an advisory, and I would want to remind all of us that the same advisory was given to us regarding the appointment of deputy governors, and we did take it and effected it. So when I say that the Senate hasn't been serious with us, I think it is important that Kenyans understand that counties are almost grounding, and our lifeline is the release of money to the counties.
All right, so I'll get back to you, Governor, to tell us about how exactly you plan to do the shutdown should the situation that you are currently experiencing persist. But to bring in Senator Samson Cherargei, of course, you've been a member of the Select Committee of 12 that was supposed to look at coming up with a solution to the stalemate that is there. But let me ask you about, the governor there refers us to the Supreme Court of Kenya advisory opinion and also the Attorney General advisory opinion. But the Supreme Court advisory was very specific to a standoff where it involves the Division of Revenue Act. Already that is in place. The situation that you're dealing with at the Senate is you cannot agree on the third generation formula. So who is telling the truth, and what do you think can be done for counties to access the funds that they need in the next 10 days?
Thank you, Kituko, and thank you for having me. What I can say is that I empathize with counties because of lack of funds, and we would wish to see their issues being resolved as soon as possible. I think the current statement of delay of disbursement of money has nothing to do with Senate from where I sit, having the historical background of the National Treasury. You remember very well that Governor has quoted Supreme Court advisory opinion that was sought by the Council of Governors on disbursement of 50% of the previous allocation. Even as the Treasury and others point fingers to the Senate, you can be very sure, as I have heard clearly, that the June disbursement has not been made. Has not been met by the National Treasury. That one means that in the last financial year of 2019-2020, it means the counties are yet to receive the amount that was disbursed in June. So what does it have to do with the Senate? Yes, the financial year came to a close. There was a Division of Revenue Act that was passed of 2019 that was taking care of that financial year. Secondly, we have had this, and I think Treasury is just taking advantage of the situation. Even Governor Kahiga will tell you that there is always delay of disbursement by National Treasury. If it is not delay of disbursement by National Treasury, it is the slow performance of integrated financial and management and information system. So I agree with you that the Division of Revenue Act has already been passed in place. What we are waiting to do is to finalize on the formula and pass the Constituencies Amendment Revenue Act, that is CARA. So from where I sit, and you remember Senate, through its leadership, held around 1 to 2 weeks, around I think 2 months now, when this issue of formula arose, and the National Treasury agreed to release to around 29 billion to counties to ensure that they are able to proceed with their functions. But from where I sit, the shutting down of counties and the national is nothing new. It has done across the world, because even in some countries, like in the US, for example, which is a classical example, when the Congress and the Senate normally fails to agree, they even shut down even the government, even many, and we have seen before, I think, in the last financial year.
But has it ever happened in Kenya, Senator Cherargei?
No, of course we are in Kenya. I'm just doing comparative analysis so that Kenyans can understand that shutting down of government is nothing new. It has always happened, but I can assure you from where I sit, these issues has nothing to do with the Senate.
Okay.
It is a tactical delay by the National Treasury, which now the Council of Governors is swallowing both hook and sink in this matter.
Interesting, Senator, that you don't see anything unusual with the county shutdown. You'll be getting a response from Governor Kahiga. But first, let's listen to what the Senate Majority Whip Irungo Kangata had to say before we can listen to the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary in as far as this standoff is concerned. But first, Senator Kangata.
Sufficient laws that would enable money to be released to the counties, at least 50%, pending the passage of County Allocation Revenue Act. For me, the best way out of this problem would be to urge the control budget to release money. She has the legal competence to do so, and therefore we ensure our counties are running well. For me, I'm not looking at Tuesday as being the D-Day. We give ourselves times to continue discussing, and therefore let us not frame Tuesday as being the day that we shall conclusively handle this issue.
In Treasury, our hands are completely tied. At the Division of Revenue, the National Assembly has actually appropriated whatever amount of resources to the counties, and the disbursement can only take place if the CARA, if Senate makes a decision. And the fact that the Senate has not agreed, then we are likely to have a problem for a longer time. I know it's a recurring problem. Last year, the previous years, there are a number of very acrimonious engagement, particularly at this time. I'm also aware that one time the Supreme Court made a decision on how to go about it. But the decision of the Supreme Court was specific to the Division of Revenue. It was not on CARA.
So that's the Cabinet Secretary at the National Treasury saying that they have no avenue for them to release up to 50%. But of course, the majority whip there, Senator Kangata, says that we don't have deficiency of laws. But Senator Cherargei, so that's the situation. You said that the National Treasury can actually go ahead and release the money. They are saying they cannot. What law are you reading?
No, I think we need to be very serious. You remember advisory opinion of 2013 on the issue of division of revenue, where the National Assembly could imagine they appropriate the division of revenue without the input and the concurrence of the Senate on the issue of division of revenue. What I can say is that, National Treasury, through the Cabinet Secretary, Kuri Atani, is notorious for taking advantage of any situation. I have told you before that counties, there is always delayed disbursement of funds, and counties will tell you that is why we have under absorption of budgets across many counties, because you are told that the integrated financial management information system is down. Secondly, you have had this advisory opinion of 2019 where the Council of Governors went to court to seek an opinion, and the Supreme Court advisory is the law. It is interpreted as the law. So I don't know what law does the National Treasury through Cabinet Kuriatani want? Is it black and white to be able to release the funds? And the third option that I had proposed last week on Monday, I said, and we would, I remember I told you on Monday last week that we can agree to pass a County Allocation Revenue Act and allow the counties to access 50%. Of course, in the hindsight of the advisory opinion of access of 50% money. But I hope when we now pass a County Allocation Revenue Act, the National Treasury will not tell us that the integrated financial and management information system are down or the passwords are not good. So I hope when we will be able to pass, I think that is the only way option at the moment.
Okay.
Because looking at revenue, looking at the issue of formula, third generation formula, I think we are yet to build a proper consensus to be able to sit as a Senate and agree to. So we can agree to pass a CARA and allow counties to access 50%. But I hope when we do so, the National Treasury will not play games again with the county government.
Okay, it's interesting that everyone is accusing the other. The governors are accusing the senators are accusing the National Treasury. But Governor Kahiga, just a minute, Senator. We'll shortly be joined by Senator Ledamo Lekina. But before then, Governor Kahiga, so the senators believe that it is the National Treasury that is causing this delay. Where do you think the problem really lies? I know you blame the Senate at a great length, but looking at the laws that we have, do you think there's a window of opportunity that the National Treasury can disburse up to 50% of your funds?
Thank you very much. Listening to Ukur Yatani, who was the governor, maybe sometimes you wonder how quickly people forget. You know, when the Supreme Court pronounces itself, and I am not a lawyer, Senator Cherargei is a lawyer, he will tell you, that the law that is passed in regard, whether it was to Dora, or Kara, every person, even the layman on the street, will understand that it is about county funds. And therefore, it is important that the same law is applied and money is released to the counties. Further to that, I think it is then if that's the last thing that has to be done, why are we not calling for a special sitting of the National Assembly that then they may pass that supervisory to become that advisory to become law, so that they can set it up, deliberate on it, and then pass the law. And if I do remember, Honorable John Bundy had already started on the same.
Right.
But really, even as we speak, I think we are not really getting the real picture. We are saying this, that our stocks in hospitals were to last us until 30th of June this year. Now we are in August. There are no drugs in hospitals. The mortuaries are not running. Nothing is moving. And here we are, still telling each other that there are things that are running. Truly, nothing is running in the counties. And I would want to say this. We are not even sure how many lives we have lost so far between June and now, because we do not have drugs in hospital. KEMSA is not releasing any drugs. We have unpaid bills that are still waiting to be paid. That is a stark reality.
Okay.
And who is suffering? Wanjiko on the street.
Okay. And Senator Ledamo Lekina, good morning. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak this morning. And we're talking about the conversation around the revenue standoff. The governors have threatened to shut down the government come 17th of September, that is next week. And the senators are blaming the National Treasury. The governors are blaming yourselves. I'm looking at Regulation 134 of the PFM Act. It talks about that in the absence of the county allocation of revenue bill submitted to, if the county allocation of revenue bill submitted to Parliament for a financial year has not been approved by Parliament or is not likely to be approved, then there's that possibility that money can be disbursed from the consolidated fund based on the previous year's CARA. But that's the regulation. It's not really part of the main law which is in the Act. So what do you think needs to happen with the National Treasury saying that their hands are tied?
Good morning, Sam. How are you doing? I think you've just given the answer. The answer is very clear. Even Article 217.7 says exactly what you're saying. If the third generation basis has not been passed, we can still rely on the second generation formula. So really, I think there's a lot of dishonesty, and let's just call a spade a spade. There's dishonesty in the part of Treasury. There's a lot of interference of senators from doing their work. You know, I'm a member of the 12-member committee which was set up, and the facts are very clear. In our committee, the 6 from Team Kenya were decision makers. The other 6 were not. They had to consult from outside. No. So there's a lot of interference from outside Parliament. And I think if we are honest enough, which we are not, that is something that we are not in this country, and we must accept that. You know, even governors should not be complaining, because governors, they're quick to say we need money, we need to be able to run counties, but they're not quick to account for them. Look at the dishonesty.
But Senator, dishonesty aside, like the governor says, Wanjiku is hurting, or the common Mwananchi is hurting because they can't access services, and those services, whatever is remaining, are likely to be withdrawn in 10 days' time. What solution will the Senate be looking for this week?
Let me tell you something, Sam. As far as I'm concerned, we have a motion in the order paper. We meet tomorrow, we debate, we pass whatever will be passed, and money is sent to counties. But if the people who are interrupting these services do not want the majority to have their way, then of course we'll continue having this problem. But this is not as simple as the way you're putting it, because the people who are supposed to be releasing the money, which is Treasury and the control of budget, are being controlled. So they cannot even go with what the law says. So until the time that we have leaders and not followers, then we'll continue having these problems. I mean, I had the statement made by Governor Paranya that the counties will shut within 10 days. I mean, that's just mere talk. I think we forget that there's a constitution. I also heard him saying that he will sponsor a petition to dissolve the Senate. Then he needs to look at the constitution. That it means amendment to the constitution, which has got to come through a way of a referendum. So we are not stupid. What we need to do is to agree that there's a lot of interference, and the moment the executive will stay away from interfering with county governments, then the Senate does its work independently, we'll be able to do it.
Senator, I've heard you consistently referring us to Article 217, Sub-Article 7 of the Constitution, and I'm looking at it now, and it says that a resolution under this article that is approved under Clause 5 shall be binding until a subsequent resolution has been approved. So I refer to Clause 5, which says that if the National Assembly does not vote on the resolution within 60 days, the resolution shall be regarded as having been approved. I believe it's talking about the new formula having to come into effect. If it has not been approved, then it means that we stick to the previous formula.
Absolutely.
If that be the case, why haven't the senators sponsored a County Allocation of Revenue Act or bill?
You see, the senators do not have to sponsor. Let me clarify that. The senators do not have to sponsor a County Allocation of Revenue bill. I mean, when you read the Constitution, it was clear. If we do not have a new basis, then we continue with the second generation formula. But the truth of the matter is, we had hoped that we will all build consensus so that counties can be able to get money using a third generation formula. But we have not been able to. So now that we've not been able to, I think it will be time for us to just continue allocating money. But even having said that, nothing stopped Treasury from releasing 50% of the revenue to the counties. I heard Treasury last week saying that they need a motion. They don't need a motion. All they need to do is to continue releasing money to the counties.
Senator, we appear to be stuck because you're saying that the formula that has been existing continues. So that would take us to CARA 2019, but that may not apply for the finances of 2020-2021. So there's no bill before the Senate for CARA. The National Treasury says that their hands are tied. So what is the solution?
Listen, the solution is very simple. And I think if you're listening to me, and if anybody out there cares to listen, they will know where the problem lies. The problem lies in those who thought they were gaining money. They are doing everything they can to scuttle the process. You know, if we had more revenue being allocated to counties by DORA, then I would not have any problem. I wouldn't have any problem with moving forward with the way these other gentlemen want. But because they do not want to get less than what they thought or perceived to be gaining, taking away about 900 million from Narok County, then they will continue stalling the process. So the reason why there is a stalemate is because of those who thought they were gaining, and now they realize that they cannot gain unless there is more money being added, because we who are supposedly losing have stood our grounds and said, no, we cannot lose a penny.
Okay, all right. Of course,
it's
very clear how the standoff is. But the new standoff is, how do counties receive money in 10 days so that they don't shut down if that threat by the governor is to be taken seriously? But so, Governor Kahiga, allow me not to get...
No, let me answer that. Let me answer that question.
Quickly.
Counties can continue. First of all, counties should not be relying on the shareable revenue. Counties ought to pull up their socks and continue generating on-source revenue.
But Senator, you're being ideal. We're dealing with the real situation here. They don't have money for 3 months now.
When they don't have any on-source revenue they can collect?
Maybe it's exhausted.
How do you exhaust on-source revenue? Gituka, let me educate you a little bit. On-source revenue is that you are charging plot rents. You are charging, and they are charging on a monthly basis. You're collecting cess. These are taxes which are supposed to be collected by county governments. They can collect them.
All right. Thank you, Senator. You said that you're educating me, but all the same. So, Governor Kahiga, you're listening to Senator Cherargei and Senator Ledamo Lekina. Of course, there are so many issues that they don't agree on, but there's still that reality that you don't have money. Do you think you're going to get a solution in the coming days?
The solution doesn't lie with counties and governors. The solution lies with Treasury. It also lies with the Senate. And it is important that I remind Senator Lekina that about 4 or 5 of the governors he is talking about to be dishonest to our senators. So I don't know whether when someone moves from Senate and becomes a governor, they become dishonest because he has used such words. I think it's not fair. All we can say is that governors are responsible, they are accountable. Those that are not, we know the law is taking its course, but really let us not run away from the issue. The issue is that counties do not have money, hospitals are running dry, services are not, we are not able to render services, and who knows, maybe there is another angle we even need to think about. Is it possible that Senate is deliberately killing, ensuring that counties will not work, so that considering we are heading to an election, they could also come and vie for the same, having made sure that governors are not able to move. I think anything could be happening, and I think it is not right. I agree with Senator Cherargei that Treasury drags its feet, especially through the Office of the Controller of Budget. We have the issue of IFMIS always being down and here and there is a kind of control. On the matter of own source revenue, it is important that we also remind Senator Lekina that the law does not allow us to spend at source. This money must go all the way right up to the Treasury, to our CRF, and then wait for release from the Controller of Budget.
Right.
But then at the end of it all, once the grandstanding is over, whoever is gaining or not gaining, I still believe that it is important that a way is found out to ensure that the counties do achieve their mandate for the sake of Wananchi.
Okay, all right. And Governor, you raised an important point there, and I saw the two senators laughing because you're accusing them that maybe they want to go and run for office and dethrone the sitting governors. I know one of the senators is actually eyeing a seat at the helm, but all the same, that's neither here nor there. Let's focus on a different topic. And this week, we know that Governor Muthomi Njuki is expected at EACC and thereafter to be arraigned for graft charges of up to 34.9 million shillings. We also know that Governor Okoth Obado last week was arraigned and released on bail, but also barred from accessing his office. Let's listen to some two leaders of ODM. This is the party that Senator Ledamo Lekina also belongs to. So they spoke about instructing the MCAs in Migori County to impeach the governor, that is Okoth Obado. Let's listen first.
We are going to punish the government with the names of Migori County Executive Committee members, directors of various departments, contractors, chief officers, MCAs, officials and suppliers who are currently involved in raising money and also diverting public funds to bribe MCAs and finance violence in the county.
We expect that the MCAs in Migori, because the threat of violence is the only weapon that Honorable, the governor has, the threat of violence and money. Those are the only two things. So we are asking that the security forces ensure security of every MCA. Politics is about persuasion. Let them be able to persuade the MCAs why they think he should not be impeached.
All right. So this is the first time that we are hearing a political party taking a stand against an elected governor. And I want to begin with you, Senator Samson Cherargei. Of course, you don't belong to the ODM party. And looking at how governors, now 4 of them have been asked not to access their offices because of the graft cases they face. Where does this leave the running of county executives if governors are to continuously be barred from office and also a political party taking a position in as far as seeking impeachment of their own governor?
Thank you, Sam. Of course, I'm not a member of ODM, as you have rightly put it. Secondly, I want to advise Senator Ledamo Lekina before I come back to your issue is that he should stop casting aspersions on colleagues. I've heard him making some comments, and I would advise him, since we are colleagues, those are things he can discuss in Kampunji, at the Senate Speaker's Kampunji. Secondly, is that where we are, Sam, is because of the Mumbi Ngugi ruling. That, and Kenyans should understand, the Mumbi Ngugi ruling was that the governor who has been suspended on corruption allegations according to Economic and Crimes Act, that Mumbi Ngugi ruling espoused was just not to access physical office. And if he was to access physical office, or she access physical office, then she must be, or he must be escorted by EACC officers. So it does not mean that the governor cannot discharge its functions as a governor, as executive decision maker. It only meant that the governor cannot access, which is perceived. When you look at the Mumbi Ngugi ruling, it says it is like a crime scene because, for example, the governors are facing corruption allegations. The argument of the Mumbi Ngugi ruling is that the office now turns into a crime scene where the DCI or the EICC officers are able to access. So from where I sit, if you look at the interpretation of Mumbi Ngugi ruling, it's very critical. And number two, the reason governors have been barred from accessing office is, unlike the president, they make what we call executive decisions. Right. So that ruling. Thirdly and finally, is that we have seen ODM. I think ODM nowadays have a double speak, or I don't know what spirit is moving around the ODM, because when the KEMSA scandal erupted, they requested for the special audit to look into the issue of KEMSA scandal before even the DCIO and EACC officers could move in. But when it came to Governor Okoth Obado, they decided that they have to Sam, let us respect the MCAs. I think MCAs also have capacity. If they want to impeach any governor, let them allow to do it without duress, without instructions, without political patronage. I think from where we sit, I think, in my own opinion, I think ODM as a party is degenerating very fast into an unfortunate situation where they are now masters of doublespeak. So,
all right, Senator, you call them masters of doublespeak. But Senator Ledamo Lekina, that's your party, and the party leadership has said that the MCAs in Migori County should go ahead to impeach Governor Okoth Obado. Do you agree with this position that actually political parties should now be instructing MCAs on what to do, despite what we know that some of the MCAs are saying we did not sign up for that?
No, I do not. that. I think when you're elected as a leader, you have the capacity to be able to make the decisions. And you will find that in most cases, a lot of county assemblies, probably in a region, you're representing probably around 30 or 40,000 people. So really, I believe that the people of Migori have a right to proper fiduciary responsibility or duty from the governors. I believe that the MCAs can also be able to make the right choice. So my view is that I would leave it to the MCAs for them to sponsor a motion to impeach the governor and bring up the charges. But that aside, I'll go into the issue that you raised regarding counties where there is a vacuum in the office when the governor is not able to access. I actually say no, and I'm actually in court right now. I'm still waiting for my case to be determined, and I hope that it will be expedited because Article 179 of the Constitution is quite explicit. It talks about the executive authority being vested in an executive committee, and that executive committee is comprised of the governor, the deputy governor, and 10 CECs, who are all part of that executive committee. We have got to move away from this notion that the governor is the alpha and omega. He's the one who calls all the shots. No, he's not. As a matter of fact, if you look at, there was a circular by Treasury, I think last week, to the CCs of Treasury, warning them clearly that they will be irresponsible if there's any misappropriation of funds, because they are the ones who are in charge. And that's what we need to do. And in fact, when we amend the Constitution, when the time comes for us to amend the Constitution, one of the clauses that I'll be seeking to make it very clear is Article 179, in terms of the management of a county, the money that is sent. Because, when you look at even what happened in Kiambu, to be honest, that is the part that, Kiambu and Samburu, those are the two that made me go to court, to be able to ensure that when the governor has been accused that, he's misappropriated funds, when he is asked to step aside, the deputy should take over, immediately should take over, because Article 179 talks about the governor being the CEO and the deputy being the deputy CEO.
All right, we have a governor on the line. So, Governor Kahiga, of course, there are those questions being raised. Do you agree, first of all, with the reality that we now face, that the governors that are taken to court released on bail, but also with terms that they should not access their offices? Do you agree with that? And secondly, what do you think is the role of political parties when it comes to the running of county affairs, like in your county, Nyeri?
Maybe all I would say is that we have double standards in this country. We have had other officers who, not only governors, but governors are dealt with in a different kind of way, because there could be a narrative around them. But let us leave that to the courts. Let's move on. We will trudge on. But let's apply the law equally to every other person, even those that have been accused of the same crimes. Let them, what happened to this country is presumption of innocence until proven guilty. We are condemned, and it's being made so easy. It looks like the new way of getting rid of governors. Just accuse them of corruption, bar them from office, and let others take over and run this. I think it will one day come back to haunt those that have brought it upon themselves. But I really think that the standards should remain the same.
Okay.
When we talk about presumption of innocence until proven guilty, let's not start saying that governors are guilty until proven innocent. I think, and while I say that, I am not defending any wrongdoing.
All right.
I would only want to say I think it is only fair. Counties will continue running, and yes, while the governor is the CEO, the deputy governor is a deputy CEO, and I agree with Olekina that decisions are made by the executive committee, and we should allow the counties to continue running
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Governor, I'll take that
as
as your...
the bottom line is not about the individual. We must know for what reasons counties exist. It is to serve Wanjiko, to serve the public, na mwananchi.
Okay, thank you so much. I will take that as your response to that. Of course, we know that in the case of Governor Okoth Obado, the accusations before the court are that he may have taken indirect benefit through his sons and daughters. We take a short break. When we return, we'll be talking about the situation in the country, specifically in the cabinet that would appear now to be divided. We come back with that shortly.